It started with the fever. Not the kind that makes you uncomfortable, but the kind that settles into your bones like concrete, weighing you down until even breathing feels like work. I'd been ignoring the signs for days, the persistent cough, the ache in my chest, the way my lungs felt like they were filling with something thick and heavy. Living alone in Portland meant there was no one to tell me I looked like death. No one to insist I see a doctor. By the time I admitted something was seriously wrong, I could barely make it from my bedroom to the bathroom without stopping to catch my breath. My apartment felt cavernous and empty, every shadow stretching longer than it should. The February rain hammered against the windows and sheets, and I remember thinking how fitting it was, drowning on the outside, drowning on the inside. I called my sister, Maya, at 2 in the morning. She lived an hour away, but she'd always been the responsible one, the one who kept our family glued together after Mom passed. I could barely get the words out between coughing fits. Emma, what's wrong? Can't breathe right, I managed. Something's wrong. She didn't waste time with questions. I'm coming. Don't move. I'm calling an ambulance. The paramedics arrived before she did. I remember fragments, the oxygen mask, the gurney, the ceiling of the ambulance passing in fluorescent strips. One of them kept asking me questions I couldn't quite grasp. Do you have any allergies? Are you taking any medications? Who can we call? I must have given them Maya's number again because she was there when I arrived at Providence Medical Center. Her face was pale, eyes red-rimmed, and she gripped my hand so tight it hurt. Pneumonia, the doctor said, though his expression suggested it was worse than the word implied. Severe bilateral pneumonia with complications. We need to admit you immediately. Your oxygen levels are dangerously low. They settled me into room 412, a private room at the end of a long corridor. The walls were that institutional beige that exists nowhere in nature, and the window looked out onto the parking lot where rain continued its relentless assault. Maya stayed until visiting hours ended, promising she'd be back first thing in the morning. I can stay, she insisted. I'll sleep in the chair. Go home, I told her, my voice raspy and weak. You have work? I'll be fine. They're pumping me full of antibiotics. She left reluctantly, and I was alone with the beeping monitors and the hiss of oxygen feeding through the tubes in my nose. The fever spiked that night. I woke, or thought I woke, to find my mother sitting in the chair beside my bed. She looked exactly as she had before the cancer took her 6 years ago, dark hair pulled back, wearing her favorite green cardigan, that gentle smile she always had. For a moment, my heart soared. Then reality crashed back. You're not real, I whispered. She tilted her head, her smile never wavering. Does it matter? You're dead. I know, sweetheart. But you needed me, so here I am. She reached out and brushed hair from my forehead, and I could feel it, the warmth of her hand, the familiar calluses on her fingertips from years of gardening. It felt so real that tears started streaming down my face. I miss you, I sobbed. I know. But you're going to be okay. You're stronger than you think. She stayed for what felt like hours, talking to me about nothing and everything, her garden, Maya's new job, the rain, my apartment that needed new curtains. Then she stood, kissed my forehead, and walked toward the door. Mom, wait. But she was gone. I pressed the call button, my hand shaking. The night nurse, a kind-faced woman named Patricia, came quickly. Are you all right, honey? Do you need something for pain? Did you see anyone leave my room just now? I asked, my voice cracking. She frowned. No, dear. You've been alone since your sister left. Why? I think I saw my mother. But she's been dead for 6 years. Patricia's expression softened with understanding. The fever can do that sometimes. The medication too. You're on some pretty strong antibiotics and antipyretics. Hallucinations aren't uncommon with high fevers, especially with the kind of infection you're fighting. She checked my vitals, noting the numbers with concern. Your temperature is 103.7. I'm going to get you some ice packs and increase your fluids. Try to rest. But I couldn't rest. The room felt different now, charged with something I couldn't name. Every shadow seemed to hide something, every sound amplified. The building settled and creaked around me, the heating system groaned through the walls, and somewhere down the hall, someone moaned in pain or despair. I must have dozed eventually because I woke to darkness and the sound of footsteps in my room. Heavy footsteps. Not my mother's light tread. A figure stood at the foot of my bed, backlit by the glow of the hallway. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing what looked like a dark jacket. My heart hammered against my ribs. "Who?" My voice came out as barely a whisper. "Emma." The voice was male, familiar in a way that sent ice through my veins. "Don't be scared. It's just me." He moved closer, and the ambient light from the monitors caught his face. Ryan. My ex-boyfriend from 3 years ago. The one I'd moved across the country to get away from. "What are you doing here?" Panic clawed at my throat. "How did you know I was here?" He pulled the chair closer to my bed and sat down, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. That same posture he'd always used when he wanted to seem concerned, caring, right before the criticism started, before the control began. "Maya posted on Facebook," he said. "Something vague about family emergency and prayers." I put 2 and 2 together. "I still follow her, you know. I worry about you. You need to leave." I reached for the call button, but he was faster, his hand closing over mine. "Don't. I just want to talk. I came all this way. From Boston. I was already in Seattle for work. It's just a 3-hour drive. When I heard you were sick." He squeezed my hand, and I felt my stomach turn. "I had to see you. Make sure you were okay. I don't want you here, Ryan. We're done. We've been done." His expression hardened, that familiar flash of anger that used to precede the arguments, the accusations, the days of silent treatment. "That's what I need to talk to you about. This thing with you and Maya, the way you both cut me out, it wasn't fair, Emma. I deserve better than that. You were controlling. You isolated me from my friends. You made me feel like I was going crazy. I was protecting you." His voice rose, and I flinched. He noticed and immediately softened his tone, that calculated shift I knew so well. "Sorry. Sorry. You have to understand. I loved you. I still love you. And seeing you with that new guy, what's his name? The one from Maya's Instagram photos." My blood ran cold. "You've been stalking my sister's social media." "Not stalking. Just keeping tabs. Making sure you're okay. And this new guy, Emma, he's not right for you. I can tell. The way he looks at you in those pictures, it's possessive. Controlling." The irony seemed lost on him entirely. "You should come back home. To Boston. I have a better job now, a nicer apartment. We could start over. Get out." My hand found the call button and pressed it repeatedly. "Get out right now. You're not thinking clearly. It's the fever, the medication." "You don't mean that." "I mean it. Leave." The door burst open, and Patricia rushed in with another nurse. "What's going on?" "This man," I pointed at Ryan, but the words died in my throat. The chair was empty. "What man, honey?" Patricia moved to my bedside, checking the monitors. "You're alone?" "No, he was just here. Ryan, my ex-boyfriend. He was sitting right there." The 2 nurses exchanged glances. Patricia took my hand gently. "Emma, no one has come into this room. I've been at the nurses' station the whole time. I can see your door from there. But I talked to him. He touched my hand. I felt it. Your fever is even higher now, 104.2. And your oxygen levels dropped while you were sleeping. Dr. Patel warned us this might happen. The infection is affecting your cognition. We're going to give you something to help, okay? No, you don't understand. But they were already preparing an injection, and moments later, a cool calm spread through my veins. The room began to blur at the edges. Sleep now, Patricia said softly. We'll keep monitoring you. You're safe here. But I didn't feel safe. As I drifted into a drugged sleep, I could have sworn I saw Ryan standing in the corner, watching me with that same intense gaze he'd always had. The one that used to make me feel special before I realized it was obsession. When I woke again, it was morning. Sunlight streamed weakly through the window, and Maya was there, sitting in that same chair, her laptop open. Hey, she said, smiling with relief when she saw my eyes open. You're awake. How do you feel? Confused. Scared. I don't know what's real anymore. She closed her laptop and took my hand. The doctor said you had a really rough night. High fever, hallucinations. They've adjusted your medication. Maya. I struggled to sit up. Does Ryan know I'm here? Her face went pale. What? No. Why would Emma? Ryan doesn't even live in Seattle anymore. He moved to New York last year. One of his friends told me at a party. Why are you asking about him? I saw him. Last night. He was here, in this room. He said you posted something on Facebook and he drove from Seattle. I haven't posted anything on Facebook in weeks. And Emma, I would never tell Ryan anything about you. You know that. She looked genuinely frightened now. This is the fever. It has to be. I wanted to believe her. But the memory felt so real, his voice, his hand on mine, the specific things he said. How could my brain have fabricated all of that in such detail? Check the visitor log, I pleaded. Please. Someone who looked like Ryan, using his name or maybe a fake name. Maya stood. Okay. I'll ask at the nurse's station. But Emma, I need you to prepare yourself for the possibility that it really was just a hallucination. She left, and I lay there staring at the ceiling, trying to distinguish reality from fever dreams. My mother had felt real too. The warmth of her hand, the sound of her voice. If that was a hallucination, could Ryan have been one as well? But there was something different about the two encounters. My mother had been comforting, peaceful. Ryan had been threatening, invasive. And the things he'd said about Maya's Instagram, about seeing me with someone new, those were specific details my feverish brain would have had to invent. Maya returned looking shaken. There was a visitor. Last night around 2 a.m. He signed in as David Miller, said he was your cousin. Patricia was on her dinner break when he came through. The other nurse on duty didn't question it because he was very polite, said he'd driven up from Eugene to see you and could only stay a few minutes. My mouth went dry. What did he look like? She said tall, dark hair, wearing a jacket. Emma. Maya's voice dropped to a whisper. That could be Ryan. But I thought I hallucinated it. The nurses said no one was there. Patricia got back from her break around 2:15. If he left right before that. She pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police. This is stalking. Breaking and entering, or whatever it's called in a hospital. An identity fraud. Wait. I grabbed her arm. What if I did hallucinate the conversation? What if someone who looked like Ryan visited, but everything he said, the threats, the obsession, what if that was my fever brain filling in the blanks? Does it matter? Maya's eyes flashed with anger. If Ryan traveled here and lied his way into your hospital room while you were sick and vulnerable, that's enough. That's crossing every possible line. She was right. Even if the specific details were fuzzy, even if the fever had distorted some of what happened, the core truth remained: someone had violated my space, and all signs pointed to Ryan. The police came that afternoon. I gave them a statement, though I had to admit I wasn't entirely certain what was real and what wasn't. They pulled the security footage from the hallway. The video showed a man matching Ryan's description entering my room at 2:07 a.m. and leaving at 2:13 a.m. The angle wasn't clear enough to definitively identify him, but it was enough to confirm I wasn't crazy. Someone had been there. They contacted the Boston PD to check on Ryan's whereabouts. 2 days later, while I was still in the hospital but recovering, Maya got the call. Ryan had indeed been in Seattle on business. He'd extended his stay by a day, and his hotel was 40 minutes from the hospital. They'd questioned him, and he denied everything at first, but when confronted with the security footage and the fake name he'd used, he'd finally admitted to visiting me. His statement claimed he'd only wanted to check on me, that he'd heard through mutual friends I was hospitalized. He insisted he didn't say any of the things I remembered, that I was feverish and confused, mixing dreams with reality. Without audio evidence, it was his word against my fever-addled recollection. But the judge granted me a restraining order anyway. The pattern of behavior, the deception used to access my room, the fact that he'd traveled interstate to see an ex-girlfriend who'd cut contact years ago, it was enough. I was released from the hospital 6 days after admission. The pneumonia had cleared significantly, though I'd need weeks of rest to fully recover. Maya took me to her place instead of my apartment. I didn't feel safe there anymore, knowing Ryan had been in the city, knowing he'd been tracking me through social media, through mutual connections I didn't even know we still had. The hardest part wasn't the physical recovery. It was the doubt. Lying in Maya's guest room, I'd replay that night over and over. How much of what Ryan said was real? Did he actually threaten my new relationship, or did my feverish brain conjure that from old fears? Did he touch my hand, or did I dream that detail? I'll never know for certain. The fever had stolen my ability to trust my own memories. But in a way, it didn't matter. Whether every word was real or not, the violation was real. He'd come to me when I was at my most vulnerable, had lied his way into my room, had stood over me while I was sick and helpless. That was enough truth to hold on to. 6 weeks later, I moved to a new apartment with Maya's help. Better security, a doorman, cameras in the lobby. I made all my social media private, blocked every mutual friend who might serve as Ryan's eyes. Started therapy to process both the medical trauma and the psychological violation. And sometimes, late at night when I can't sleep, I wonder if my mother really did visit me that first night. If somehow, in my fever and fear, I'd opened a door to something beyond understanding. Because unlike the memory of Ryan, which was tainted by doubt and fear, the memory of my mother remained crystal clear and untainted. I choose to believe that one was real. That somewhere, somehow, she'd known I needed her and found a way to come. Even if it was just the fever speaking, it's the kind truth I need to hold on to. The other truth, about Ryan, about invasion and obsession, that one speaks loudly enough on its own.